little till she was grown, as me and Tyrone and Betty Dupree. I was back and forth making corrections with this gentleman that helped me with this. I met him at Leake's son's funeral home. He was very professional, very patient, and very helpful with this. As time passed, he noticed my mother's accomplishments and activities as for the family. He was honored to do this with me and wished my family well and also gave us condolences. That's for an introduction. This is about my mother's transitioning over to the Lord, experience being by her side, transitioning over with, being by her side. My mother was hit with the stroke in April and was admitted to the University of Chicago Hospital. From there, she was getting care until she was able to be released to rehabilitation on 75th and Exchange. That's where my mother and I met this beautiful, wonderful nurse named Kenyatta.
Amen.
She and my mother had a lot in common. Became best friends with her, and among other challenges at her job, she did the best she could to help and to make sure my mother was cared for. And as always, she's been there on my side for supporting the medical field, which I was lost in, and as well as my darkest times. My mother loved her for everything she did for her care and her friendship. As for Sweetie, she was my support for my mental and spiritual side, as well as for my mother, and saying powerful prayers for everybody in the family. I was with my mother every day to make sure she was safe and make sure everything was okay. Every time I visit her, she would be so happy to see me, as well as I was so happy to see her. A month or two later, I was working on becoming her power of attorney, which my mother was already working on. I had no idea about. She was already a step ahead. That's how she always was. I also renewed her lease at her place, hoping that she would come back home. I also kept up with her friends, her bills, and other things she had going on. But down the line, my mother experienced multiple strokes. Each one hit my mother pretty hard, where it was affecting her mental status, started to sleep more, and had less care for TV and activities. But every night I told my mother I love her. And I always be there by her side, no matter what the challenges are. Then my mother was admitted to Christ Hospital, where there, maybe for a couple weeks before they released her to Oak Park Respiratory Rehabilitation Center. After a while, I knew my mother's condition wasn't getting no better. She started to have less taste for food and no thirst for water. For the will of the love I had for my mother, I got her back eating and drinking, which the doctors couldn't diagnose or tell me that she couldn't eat or drink no more. So I had her reevaluated back to the Christ Hospital. From there, the doctor said they couldn't do nothing more. Then she was released under hospice care, which is called end-of-life care. Then she was diagnosed with dementia. Then my mother told me, son, I need to talk to you. She told me to be strong. I will always love you. You have always been by my side. She said, "You have always been by my side." And this is different, she said. She said this is nothing like it was before. "I need you to deliver some messages to everyone in the family and her friends," she said. After a while, she was too weak to talk. She was too weak to talk at all. One day, Sweetie said a prayer. As when the prayer was over, she woke up. Out of nowhere, just woke up. It was amazing. She had the strength to say, "Thank you, sweetie. You will always be in my prayers. I love you."
She did.
And one of the other deepest testimonies is when my mother seen David, a bishop, and one of her friends from the church, one of the members. Her eyes were filled with joy and happiness. She came to again and wished them Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And had a brief short conversation with them. I was running out of options. No matter how hard I tried to keep her here with us, her condition wasn't getting no better. On December 16th, I held my mother and told her I loved her before I left, as always. That night at 10:59, I got a call from the center. And they told me, someone needs to see Charletta now. So with no hesitation, I turned around and came straight there. When I got there, her hands was folded. At this moment, it felt like my chest was pushing into my back. Then I ran to her body and put my head down on her chest, where her heart was located, and I couldn't let go. This was the worst pain I felt in my life. What I learned from this is how a rehabilitation center works, what is hospice care, and how strong my love was for my mother and closer to the relationship with the Lord. That's my speech.
Amen. Amen.
Known the man for 20 years. Strong man.
I love my mother.
Everybody know that. Everybody knows. They don't know something wrong.
Hey, everybody. This is
Hey, cousin.
about the
I never called it so.